why we do things in life before I jump into the actual details of some of this. So this was the 10th anniversary. Obviously, it was supported partially through Rotary, the Club of Alexandria Cosmopolitan. There may be a gentleman joining our group today from Egypt, actually to watch this presentation. He's the co-founder of this, and I'll talk a little bit about him later on in the presentation. Really? First thing I have to do. Oh. I want to talk a little bit about your why. Because one of the things that Al sort of alluded to is I've done different crazy things in my life. And I've been very fortunate in being able to do some of those crazy things. So what is your why? And this is something that I think Dwayne has probably talked a little bit about in his presentation. Why do you do the things in life that you do? Why did you join Rotary? Why do you want to give back? Why do you want to be part of something bigger than what you already are? Well, I know what my why is. I figured out my why question about 10 years ago. And it's really interesting that once you know the why and why you do what you do and why you give back and why you get involved in things, the next thing you need to understand is what are your towards values and away values. And in my life, I was able to figure this out about 5 years ago. I went to a great Tony Robbins seminar down in Florida called Date with Destiny. And I understand the things that drive me. So when I talk about toward values, I like honesty, I like integrity, I like adventure, I like spontaneity. Those are the things that drive my life. My away values, things that I don't like. Well, some of them are just the opposite. I don't like dishonesty. I don't like people that procrastinate. I don't like people that don't do things and complain about things. I hate complainers. So if you're ever sitting around a room complaining about something, you see me get up and leave, it's not personal. It's just I don't want to be around that stuff because that's a negative thing and I'm not part of that. I want to do things in life. One of my challenges is that I've lost a few people very close to me early in my life. I lost my dad almost 25 years ago. He was 49. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm living in overtime right now. So the cool thing is I want to go out and do things and have those great adventures. I've been very fortunate in my life that I'm in a position now where I can do those things. So one of the things that I wanted to do is go experience things. And I'm all about experiences. That's what I do now. I just love doing different things. So one of the things is I wanted to go see a foreign country from the back of a motorcycle. And you can only see a country from a motorcycle when you really want to see the depths of it and experience it. I really wanted to experience the culture of Egypt. It's a great country. It's got 5,000 to 6,000 years of culture. It's been around for so long. It's been ruled by so many different groups over the years. There's so many artifacts. There's so much stuff to go see and do. And the third one was that I didn't really expect, but I had the added experience of amazing friends from around the world. Because when we did this experience, there was 42 riders from around the world. So I now have an open invitation to go ride in anywhere in the US, Seattle, Idaho, South Carolina. I've met these great people. Come down anytime. I'll connect you up. I can go to France. I got friends there now that want to ride. Poland, Romania, lots of friends in Egypt. One of the great things about this experience is a third of the members were actually from Egypt. So the great thing is they were able to teach us all about the Egyptian culture. And having those people along and experiencing it was a whole different way of experiencing it. Because the Egyptian culture is very different than what we're used to. So why does the CEC or the Cross Egypt Challenge even exist? And the reason it exists is actually from this man on the bottom left-hand corner, which I can't even pronounce his name correctly, Ahmad Zalji. And he's a great guy. He's the one that's organized this. This is his 10th year in organizing this. And really it's about bringing people to Egypt to experience it and then go back and talk to other people about the great experiences that they've had, which is exactly what I had. A lot of people look at Egypt. My first questions that got asked to me, is it safe? When I started telling people I was looking at going to Egypt, is it safe? Is it safe? That was what everybody was talking about. Well, let me tell you, the damn coronavirus cost me a lot more grief than any safety issues that I had in Egypt. Egypt is perfectly safe. You can go walking anytime, day or night on the streets, Cairo, Alexandria, any of them. They're perfectly fine. When I got there, I did lots of walking. I was there for about 2 days before the event started, and I went and saw a bunch of the sites. I saw the catacombs in Alexandria. I saw the Citadel, and just went out and toured and just had a great time. And it was unbelievable to see some of those sites in Egypt. With sand-covered tombs everywhere, the amount of archaeological history in this country is just unfathomable. Everywhere where they dig to dig anything, they run into stuff. The museums are full. They're actually building a brand new museum that's going to open in the next couple of months that is just going to be phenomenal. They're moving all of the really new stuff to it, and it's going to be incredible. I actually went to one of the museums while I was there and toured it, and it was phenomenal looking at all the different artifacts over the years. The tombs, the mummies, the engravings, all of that kind of stuff was just phenomenal. And we'll show a couple pictures later on in the slides of just how prevalent it is everywhere. So we actually got to do this from the back of a motorcycle or scooter, and we rode from the Mediterranean in the north all the way down, partially through the Western Desert, down along the side of the Nile, down about 3/4 of the way down Egypt, and then went out to the Red Sea and rode back up the coastline all the way back up to Cairo. Egypt is a country of 110 million people. So it's a lot of people, not a big country. But unlike Canada, even where we've got a massive country with not a lot of population, almost all of their population is either along the Nile, at the Mediterranean, or along the Red Sea. So even where in Ontario, we've got cities like Timmins, anybody's been up to the conference, in the middle of nowhere in the north, but they exist. Here, in the middle of the desert, nothing exists. There's no hydro, there's no water, there's no population, there's nothing. And I'll show you a couple pictures later on. And it's a little bit hard to wrap your head around. So even in Northern Ontario, where we think it's very sparsely populated, we have a lot of population compared to this. And just the conditions are so harsh. There we go, now it's working. It's slow. So these are some pictures of us actually, running down the road. So we were a pack of, like I said, 42 riders, 40 bikes total. About half of them were scooters and half of them were motorcycles. And it was just an incredible adventure, just mind-boggling that we're out riding through this incredible country. Again, riders from around the globe. So there was all kinds of different people with all kinds of different experiences coming and having this one experience all together. Some of the backers of this program were pretty impressive. So this is the first year of the FIM. And so the FIM is the Federation of International Motorcyclists. Now it's actually in French in there. And they were there to support and sponsor this program because they're really about driving tourism. It's about driving awareness around the world that Egypt is a safe place to come and experience. Egypt also has a really interesting problem when it comes to motorcycles. They literally have put an embargo on bringing motorcycles into the country. And the reason was apparently when they did the revolution back 18 years ago, one of the things that happened, and we've seen this on the news, is that these motorcycle bombers were blowing stuff up. Well, so what they did was, right or wrong, they basically just said, okay, no more motorcycles in the country. So you couldn't bring a motorcycle into the country. Now you can, but you have to pay a 50% duty. So if you want to bring your $40,000 Harley into the country of Egypt, you're paying a $20,000 import duty fee. So let's face it, there's not a lot of motorcycles in Egypt. We rode, 2,500 kilometers. Once you're outside of the city, you literally never saw anything on two wheels, ever, except for one day, we saw a pack of about 10 bikes heading the other way, which was really bizarre because here in Ontario, you see bikes all over the place. People ride every day and lots of packs. So it's very interesting that you couldn't get bikes. So the bikes that we were riding were older bikes that they were able to get in, and private citizens are able to bring them in. There's no such thing as dealerships there where they sell new bikes. You can't buy a new motorcycle in Egypt. It's impossible. You can buy scooters, and I don't know what the limit is, up to about 300 cc's, and you can get scooters. So hence, there are scooter clubs there, but not motorcycle clubs. There's not enough bikes. So of course, I wasn't really the scooter rider type. Was it hot? You damn right it was hot. Before I went, they said, oh, bring a light jacket. You know, you're going to need a light jacket. So I took my jacket, was heavier than this. It's cool in the morning. Yeah, it's 18 to 20 degrees in the morning. If you look in the top left corner, that's 47 degrees. And that's not Fahrenheit, that's Celsius. The one day coming across the Eastern Desert, we hit 44 degrees at the top of the mountain. It is crazy hot. I don't know if everybody's ever experienced 40 degrees. I have once in Death Valley, and it was hot. That was hot. And we're wearing these long sleeve shirts to protect us from the sun. And you stop on the side of the road in 40 plus degrees, it's hot. When I talk about the barren wasteland, this is what we rode through. This is us. These are pictures that I actually took. If you look at the bottom, you actually see my Canadian flag on the top of my windshield. I was one of 2 Canadians. There was another gentleman, Randall, from out near Edmonton that went. And so they actually labeled up our bikes, and they labeled, we had Canadian flags or US flags if you're from the US, or Romanian flags, whatever. So it was a truly international group that we had as we rolled across the country. But you can see the barrenness of the wasteland. There is just nothing out there, and there's no way to support anything. So we talked a little bit about the history. This is the 10th year. This is the 10th anniversary. And the reason that they've been doing this is just to raise awareness of Egypt and have people come and experience it and then go home and talk about it. So there are a few great riders. This was one of them. He was our leader. And this guy was a local Egyptian, super knowledgeable about motorcycles, and this guy could ride. And it was just so much fun to ride behind him because he just did perfect lines. He knew some of the roads. It was amazing to watch. Again, we talk about culture. For some of you that have been down to the Dominican Republic and did some humanitarian work, you know what it's like. This is a load of dishwashers or laundry machines, washer dryer machines. And this kind of stuff is everywhere. You see the lorries that are loaded twice as high as they should be. And for some reason, as you're going down the road and you're passing these massive trucks that are loaded to the sky, they always lean towards you. Whichever way you go by them, they're leaning towards you. And it looks like it's ready to fall off and take you out at any time. So you always give them a bit of a wide berth. You never ride behind them because you don't know what kind of stuff is falling off. But I got to tell you, these are some of the best engineering tie-down artists in the world. It's amazing what you can do with 1,000 feet of quarter-inch rope. Now, a lot of these pictures are actually taken. I wear a camera around my neck, and when I'm riding, I'll just put it up and take some pictures as we're riding along. A little bit tougher here because I don't have cruise control. I'm used to shooting with my right hand. I set my cruise control. Here I didn't have cruise control, so I had to shoot with my left hand. But you can actually see in the top left picture, in my mirror, you can see the guy behind me. And we're riding as a pack as we're going down the road. We talked a little bit about the numbers. This is, as you can see, 2020 didn't exist. The reason 2020 didn't exist, COVID. Nobody wanted to take any of those kind of chances. But you can see how there was different participant numbers over the years. And you can see how there's different countries represented. Some of them Egyptians, some of them non-Egyptians, female, male. Everyone was represented from around the world and from different genders, different cultures, different backgrounds. Which was really interesting when you got all these different cultures together and you got to experience different conversations around the pool at night about what people do and where they come from and why they're there and what they're hoping to do with this and why they're having these incredible experiences. One young lady from Poland, she literally rides all the time. She just got done doing a month-long trip around Croatia by herself on her Africa Twin, which is a fairly big bike. And she just did a fantastic job. She said, anytime you want to come ride Poland, come on over. I'll look after you. I'll get you a bike. We'll go ride. Just unbelievable, unbelievable people. Some of the barren wasteland. So this is the Eastern Desert. And the desert there isn't what I really thought. I thought desert is soft, sort of sand dunes, like Sable Beach, right? Just bigger. Not really. Most of it is very harsh. It's more sandstone than sand. It's very, very harsh. one of the biggest things that Egypt does is they export a lot of limestone, a lot of sandstone, a lot of marble. Okay. And this sandstone it's almost hard. And then it's filled in with soft sand in between that's blown around. And the sand's always moving. So a bunch of the artifacts in Egypt over thousands of years have been buried. So some of these temples that are 100 feet high, they were 3/4 buried by the sand. And then 100 years ago, they started excavating some of these and seeing some of the temples. And it was just phenomenal when you got into seeing what was underneath this sand. We talked about different men and women media reach. One of the things that these guys did a really good job of was we had professional photographers with us all the time. We'll start to see those pictures probably November, December. They haven't had time to put them all together yet. And there will be some amazing shots because these guys are absolutely phenomenal in the shots they were doing. They were laying down on the side of the highway as we're going through. They shut down roads for us. We had police escorts that were shutting down ramps and stuff. So we would roll through a town like Barrie and there would be no cars allowed onto the road with us. And we would just roll right through the center of town. Like we were something to see. It was pretty impressive. People stopped what they were doing when we rolled through town because most of them never seen anything like this. It's really neat. There's a bunch of different sponsors and supporters throughout all of this. They've actually done different articles on us in the different Rotary magazines over the years. I don't know if they've done one in English for the Western Hemisphere, but I think they're looking at doing one this year. And riding between up to the pyramids was just phenomenal. Now this picture was actually from a couple of years ago. They got flooded. We didn't see any rain at all, nothing. So it's ordinary Rotarians can find themselves in extraordinary circumstances. In their own words, they tell us what it's like to ride across the Sierra. So pretty cool adventures. This gentleman has actually put together several other rides, one in Africa. He's looking at doing one in India in the near future. So he's done some great things. So this was just a fantastic season that we were able to put together. It was a little tough because of some of the things that were going on with COVID. Obviously, I had to do a COVID test before I left here. We did a COVID test as soon as we got there before they put us together as a cohort group. And then I had to do another PCR test before I could get on the plane and fly back home again. But I was negative all the way through. And most others were. We did have one little glitch at the end with one group, but I think they're going to be flying out shortly and everyone's going to come home safe. So this is sort of the layout of the different area that we did. So the one going down the left side is going down basically the Nile. And then, of course, the Red Sea, and then back up to Cairo is where we actually ended the route. And Alexandria is right at the top is where we started the route. And there's some just great cities along the way. Luxor is basically the Valley of the Kings. So that's where you've seen all of the crypts and tombs and temples and things like that. And we toured it. We actually took a day off and toured it. And just phenomenal being able to see some of the sites there. And we talked about the schedule. How we basically rode every day except for one day. A lot of preparation went into this. All of our hotel rooms were pre-booked. All of our meals were figured out. We would stop on the side of the road for lunch, and this is what it would look like. We actually ran with our own fuel truck. And the reason we did that is because when you get into the desert, there's no gas stations. And these scooters could only run 100 kilometers to a tank. And some of the motorcycles could only run 200 kilometers to a tank. So being that there's no gas, we actually carried our own fuel truck at the end of the line. You see the fuel truck there. And they would just stop on the side of the road and we would drive up on either side and we would fill the bikes right off of the fuel truck. And then we would roll up and we would stop for lunch. And this is what it would look like. We have some tents set up in the middle of the desert. Just incredible. When you look around and all you see is desert. There's nothing else out there. There's nothing man-made that you can possibly see. So this is riding across the top of the eastern desert through the mountain range. And there actually is a mountain range. No, it's not like the Rockies. It's more like Blue Mountain. But it's a mountain range. And it's very impressive when you start riding through some of the sandstone. Remember we talked about the sandstone? This is what some of the road cuts look like when you're at the top of the mountains. It's all sand. That's what I couldn't do. Oops. Go back there. Please, there. I couldn't do that. That was not me. Hence the reason why they call it the CEC, okay, Cross Egypt Challenge. Doing that on a scooter would be a much more challenge than doing it on a motorcycle. Many of the groups did it. Whatever. We enjoyed the motorcycles. One of the days, I jumped in a hot air balloon, went for a hot air balloon ride. So this is over the Valley of the Kings out of Luxor. This was probably the highlight of my trip. It was incredible. I've only got a couple pictures in this slide deck, but I've got about 1,000 pictures from this hot air balloon because it was mind-blowing what we could see. So this is actually the Valley of the Kings, and this is where they built all of these. There's a temple way at the back in the center, and this is where they actually built the temples and they built the crypts where the different leaders were buried over the years. And most of these crypts were built about 2000 to 2500 BC. Okay, so we're 4,500 years ago-ish, okay? And when we did this little hot air balloon ride, we left from basically right at the side of the Nile. So that temple is the temple of, again, I can't pronounce it, it was one of the only female leaders during that dynasty, Hasmasu, something like that. And it was just phenomenal that, you know, you're in something that is 4,000 years old. And then the next day, we actually went down into some of the crypts, and it was phenomenal. Are you on the right way? There we go. So you can see the farming fields, which is along the side of the Nile, where they have water from the Nile. So they're growing crops. And then immediately next to it is this 4,000-year-old temple that is partially excavated. It would be like, you know, next to the rec center, there's a 4,000-year-old monument that's being excavated and parts of it are taken to the local museum. It's just mind-boggling that this even exists. And this is one of the ones that's under excavation right now. And you can see the size of this. Like, it's bigger than football fields. And they're just going back and they're, you know, rediscovering what was there. And it was all just covered with sand. And then they started hitting this when they were building new houses. Just incredible. Again, just riding. Some of the scenery was just breathtaking. Nothing like we've ever seen before. At one point, we did see some camels. Just incredible shots. Again, having some fun in the desert. Yeah, just riding down the road. And there's these kinds of monuments on the side of the road. And these are real. These aren't reproductions. These are real things. Just sometimes we've done on some pretty dirt roads, but it wasn't too bad for the most part. Most of it was paved. We would have lunches in the desert, and they would just stop and set up camp, and you saw the shot of what it looked like from the outside. But these are the chefs that came along and looked after us. Again, some of the incredible pictures of the photographers laying on the side of the road and taking pictures. Riding through some of the valleys and the rugged areas when we went through the mountains, through the eastern mountains. We had a mechanic along with us, and he would look after the bikes every night, make sure that there was any issues. And we did have a few issues because, again, we're riding older iron, and they're not the most technologically up-to-date fuel-injected systems. We had a doctor with us, a medic. At some points, we actually had an ambulance running with us in certain areas. I don't quite know why. This was incredible when we got to ride across, and you can see the pyramids off in the horizon. And it's just so majestic, and it just makes you feel a difference in size. It's just unbelievable that you have this incredible adventure. All the different groups from around the world. And this includes all the support people. So there's just a ton of us. I think there was about 56 or 58 of us once you put everybody together. Just incredible. You can just sort of see some of this kind of culture and experience. And one of the things about this experience that I also was really interesting is there was 14 Rotary clubs represented from 13 different countries, which also was really interesting because during some of the dinner that we sat down and we talked about Rotary things. We talked about water projects. We talked about what other Rotary clubs around the world are doing. And it became very evident that some of these clubs think very big and they do great projects around the world. They do some of the most incredible waterworks stuff in Northern Africa, Kenya, just incredible things. We also talked about different medical supports. And what was really interesting is that I met a district governor from South Carolina that's working on, him and his buddy are working on doing a medical supply program in Guyana. And I said, well, do you know Kelly Hatfield? And he's like, well, I know the name. I said, well, yeah, her uncle's, you know, Chris Hatfield that went to the International Space Station, Canadian. He's like, oh yeah, okay, I know who that is. Well, she's doing this work. And I was actually able to connect the two of them while in Egypt about working together to get even more medical supplies and systems into Northern Guyana. So just those kinds of connections are just phenomenal that you just don't get to do unless you get outside your comfort zone and experience some incredible things in the world. Some of the pictures I didn't put in here is some of the stuff from the crypt. The one day I was in the Valley of the Kings and I actually went down into a bunch of the different crypts. I did Seti, I did Ramses I, Ramses III, I did King Tutankhamun, which of course everybody knows King Tut, and I just had to go. And it's incredible how they did this. They actually engraved right in the stone all these different hieroglyphics, and then they painted them. And if you were a king that was alive for a long period of time and had great wealth, your crypt was absolutely stunning. And it would be 200 or 300 feet deep into the mountain. It would have multiple different caverns on the way in. It would have all these different gold-plated things. One of them even had a chariot to help him in his afterlife. They just all these incredible things that they had. They had pottery. They had gold-plated everything. It was just phenomenal. And so I got to see some of this stuff. So I had to go into King Tut's. And one of the problems with King Tut is he died very, very young. And he wasn't a leader for a long period of time. He died at like 20 years old, 21. So the weird thing was that even though we had tons and tons of treasures because he was a very powerful king, he was young and he was aggressive and he conquered lots of land, but he didn't live very long. So his tomb was very, very small, very, very short, but he had over 4,000 artifacts in it and some incredible gold stuff. And then I went to the museum and got to actually see some of the artifacts that they pulled out of King Tut's tomb. It was just incredible to be able to see, touch, and feel culture that's 4,000 years old. And it's just right there, and you can go up and you can touch it and everything else. So in wrapping this up, I think we're probably just about out of time. Couple of things. One, get involved in different Rotary things. The reason that I found out about this is I joined the International Fellowship of Motorcycling Rotarians. Some of the guys I met were actually the president of the Sylvania International Motorcycle Group for Rotarians. He was actually there on the ride. And so we got to talk a little bit about some of the different cultural difference in riding motorcycles in different countries on different continents. Pretty cool. I got an email, said, do you want to do this? So last year didn't go. I stayed in touch with these guys. They sent another email this year and said, are you still interested? I said, yes, let's do this. And as coronavirus, got a little bit crazy again in the summertime, I'm like, geez, I don't know if I should be doing this. But anyways, I did it and had a ton of fun. I met these Rotarians from around the world. I got to experience some of the things that they got to talk about, and that was phenomenal in itself. I got to see the culture. I got to experience just incredible sights and sounds and things that you just don't get to see in Canada. So you got to get out of your comfort zone, go out and experience some different things, have some fun, figure out what your why is and what you want to do. My thing is motorcycling and such. I've already got working on plans to go to Ecuador in January, and my wife and I are already booked to ride the Himalayas next September. And just have some incredible experiences because life is short, time is precious. Give back where you can, get involved, and do some things. Any questions? They've got an incredible local beer called Stella, and it is not the Stella that we're used to here in North America. And it was everywhere. So it was great. I'm not much of a beer drinker, but I would drink their local beer. It was like about 70 Egyptian pounds, and it was about 14 and a half Egyptian pounds to $1 Canadian. So whatever, it was $4 or something like that. However, if you wanted to get whiskey, rye, rum, any of those vodka, any of those kinds of things, none of them are made in Egypt. So there's an import tax. So they're very, very expensive. So just to get a rum and coke was like 350 Egyptian pounds, where you could get a beer for like 80. And most of the pools would serve right to the pool side. So you just sit in the pool and go, beer! And somebody would show up with a beer. It was good. It was fun. The food, more of a Mediterranean type diet, but they also cater to outsiders, because obviously where we were staying at resorts every night. So supper and breakfast were obviously included. So it worked out fairly well for us. And you could just, everything was buffet. You could pick up whatever you want. But I love crepes. In North America, we're not crepe people, but over there they are. And so having crepes every morning for breakfast with strawberries, oh, it was awesome. But sorry? Yeah, it was interesting. Some of the pictures you can see a little bit where there was always like a brown dust. And when you go into to any of the cities, everything is brown. Everything's multiple layers of taupe. Everything was taupe colored. The reason is because sand covers everything. There's a dust layer of sand on everything. On your bike in the morning, on your car, on the road, you lean up against a railing, and it's always this dust cloud in the distance. It's always there. One day we did get into a bit of a sandstorm. It wasn't bad. It was a little bit gritty, but it wasn't serious. But they can have bad sandstorms to the point where you can't ride. You got to pull up a mask and cover yourself up, right? So it can be bad. We didn't see any of that. Any other questions? Any other questions from home?
Yes, Doug, you have a guest.
Say that again? Oh,
Ahmad's on.
Ahmed. Hey, good morning, Ahmed. Anything you want to say, sir?
Hey, Doug, how are you? Great presentation.
Well, anything you want to add that I've missed about the Egyptian culture, sir?
You just said it all. I'm very happy about your presentation. I'm very happy that you have enjoyed your time. Look forward to do another presentation to your club with the next season information, probably in a few weeks. So let's see who's interested to enjoy his dog experience in 2022.
Awesome. And if you're putting together other things around the world, keep us in mind. There are a couple motorcycle riders in this group. And I'm also connected up with the local Barrie group. And I know there's many riders in that area as well. So, but thank you very much for joining us. Any closing comments from Egypt and things that we should know about just general travel to Egypt that most of our group would never know?
As he said, Egypt is safe. It's not like what you hear in the news. Like the news always focus on drama, and because this is how they sell. But Egypt is very safe. Anybody would like to visit Egypt, you can. Not necessarily with the Cross Egypt Challenge, but you can just book a flight, book a hotel, and just go. Not only Egypt has this great civilization and much history, but only great beaches. The Mediterranean coastline is amazing. The Red Sea coastline is amazing. You can also enjoy, like Islamic history, Catholic history, Christian history, Pharaonic history. Like we have everything. Just put Egypt on your calendar sometime in the future. Visit, and I promise you wouldn't be disappointed.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate those final words. Michael. Well, one day we went snorkeling and we went scuba diving in the Red Sea, which is one of the best places in the world to go. It was phenomenal. Some of the sightseeing events that he was able to put together for us. We actually went one night and we went to a local coffee shop and got to experience the local culture, and let's just face it, the local Tim's is not the same as what it is there. I got to learn how to drink Turkish coffee with the sand in the bottom. It's just a very different culture experience. We got to go see different temples along the way. We went snorkeling in the Red Sea, and it was just phenomenal. The fish, the corals, just in your face. It's beautiful. We went sailboating on the Nile one night, watching the sunset. Just really, really neat experiences. And it was all put together by Ahmed that put everything together ahead of time. So all you had to do was show up, do your thing, be part of the group, and have an incredible experience. And Egypt is safe. If you want to travel there, it's absolutely safe. Go and have fun.
Thank you very much, Doug. Egypt's always been on my bucket list, and I want to go to the next trip. So,
Hey, President Dean, we
yes,
have
sir.
another guest that just showed up.
Oh,
from
I did
Egypt.
see that. Magda Nassar.
Yes. Yes, exactly so.
How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Thank
If I
you.
may, Magda is a member of our Rotary Club, the Alexandria Cosmopolitan. She's a member of our international committee. Once Doc sent me the Zoom link, I forwarded to my committee, and she just joined us a little bit late. She missed a great presentation, but I think we can show her the recording once it's available.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm sure Doug will stick around and answer any other questions if you have them, but we do have to move on with our business. So moving on to old business. Jeff, can you give us a beer for your update?
I have 8.5 books left. I sold a whole whack of Sobeys there last Sunday. So that's a good place to sell. So we're going to get a schedule together. So hopefully we can get other people to sell there because it's a good place to sell. I sold, I don't know how many books there, but like I say, I only have 8.5 left. And I don't know what's left out there, but we're going to have to start bringing them in so we can catalog them, bring them in, put them in a drum for our draw in December. So everybody remember that. Get them in.
Thank you very much, Jeff. That's all we had for old business. On to some new business. We're excluding a couple of things to talk about after the board meeting last night that we're putting a pin in, but we'd like to talk about the Troy Scott funds. So the board did come to an agreement last night that we are going to put those funds into its own account, and we are going to use that for the special requests we get to stay in Innisfil. So we get a lot of letters for help that we don't have the funds for, and will be allocated for that. Janet's not here, but we did receive an education grant. We'll have her talk about that. Santa Claus Parade. So Doug did put in the application yesterday for the Santa Claus Parade. I believe it's November 28th. So it is drive-through like it was last year at the Innisfil Rec Center. They have asked us to lead it again, be the first in the parade. So we'll be the first thing. Last year we had a couple of people. We'd like to get more out. Hopefully it is not as cold as it was last year. But was 350, 400 cars showed up last year. So it was a big turnout, and it's great for Rotary to do. So be looking for lots of volunteers there. Last, Ann Kell wasn't able to make it this morning, but she left me information here about the pumpkin walk that is set up for the Monday after Halloween. So they are looking for volunteers needed in the afternoon until 5 p.m. to help set up the dropped off pumpkins. The Historical Society is also looking for people who can help between 5:30 and 8:30 to act as guides along the pathway. At 8:30, pumpkins will be gathered and the LED batteries will be moved from the pumpkins and loaded into a truck and trailer and delivered to a local farm on 3rd Line. If you're able to help out in any way for November 1st, please let her know. We will send this out to the club so they have the details as well. But that is all I had for new business. Anyone have anything to add? We still have a bit of time left, so I'd love to do a good news round. And we can start with the online. Let's start with our Dr. J.
Good morning. I have to tell you, while I couldn't participate, I heard that the End Polio Parade on Sunday, the walk from the west to the east came off pretty well and had pretty good turnout. So congratulations on that. And otherwise, I hope to get out in the public here soon. And I'm really proud of everybody. Al is always kind when I show up, even though I was here recently and Al wasn't. But I will say this, as a mentor and working on behalf of the district, I literally started the snowball at the top of the mountain, and all of you over the last 10 to 11 years have run with it. Yeah. I can't take a whole lot of credit, but I do get a whole lot of joy out of everything going on in Innisfil with the Rotary Club.
Thank you very much, Dr. J. Jen Ray.
Just had a few days off last week, which was really nice to have a little break. Went down to St. Catharines to see my parents, which always helps fill my cup up. So it's just nice to see family, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Brandy.
No news, really. Just happy to be here, and I hope everybody has a good week.
Thank you, Brandy. Robert, nice to see you. What do you have any good news for us?
Nothing special. Just happy to be part of that amazing presentation by Doug. It shows what we can do around the world. So it was good, but nothing to brag about. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. Mr. Holness.
Yes, thanks, President Dean. Great presentation, Doug. It was very inspiring. And it's so good to see another side of the world. I haven't been there, and I would love to, hopefully tag along in the future, because that's a sight to see. So but other than that, it's a beautiful day to be beautiful. It's a great day to be great. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, Dwayne. Chief Fletcher, I think you were cringing when Doug was taking pictures while riding and that truck that was strapped down.
You took words right out of my mouth, President Dean. I was obviously the distracted driving laws are different in Egypt than they are here. So well done, Doug. It's always rubber to the road, but risky when you're holding the camera in one hand. But a great presentation. Very envious being a rider myself. Hopefully someday you'll have that opportunity, Doug, to join you on one of those. Great opportunity. From a good news perspective, President Dean, just an exciting weekend for me and my family. My son got married on Saturday. Hence why I wasn't out for the polio walk on Sunday and doing a few other things. Wonderful ceremony, and nice to actually see family and be able to hug people, because everybody had to show up vaccinated and keep their masks on. But so great to see family after 2 years of being kept inside. So exciting weekend.
Thank you very much, Chief Fletcher. Magda, did you have any good news to share with us at all today?
I'm sorry, I just logged in. I just joined, so I'm happy to meet you all. I missed the presentation, and I hope Ahmed can forward the presentation to me. And I'm just saying hello to everybody.
Thank you very much again for joining us. Whitney.
Good morning, everyone. Nothing really new with us over here. I went to Toronto yesterday for my second in-office day at the Princess Margaret. So a very long day, but it was nice to get to meet some more people in person.
Thank you, Whitney. Monica.
Good morning, everyone. No really good news, I guess. Just happy that I'm able to join this morning via Zoom. Hope everyone has a great week.
And I think I got everybody online. So we'll start live in person. Rob.
Everything's well and good. Like there's nothing changing. The weather's getting a little cooler, which I don't like, except to wear long pants.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, just Jeff every week talks about the 50-50. They are pretty easy to sell. Last night I just sat down, sent a like 2-line email to about 20 people, sold 10 tickets in about 15 minutes, so it doesn't take too much. My good news, our daughter, she's 14. A couple months ago, she was really wanting to try and find her first job, so she started applying to a bunch of places around town. Saturday, her and her friend got a call from Pizzaville, and so she's been training there, and so she's basically been hired now. I just got to deal with the fact that she's got to learn some time management, because every time I try to get her to do something, she's telling me how she's too busy with training with Pizzaville, and it's like, yeah, kid, one phone call and that goes away. So let's just dial that back and try and get your time management back in check here. But she's pretty happy. So.
I think our good news is that everything's fine and nothing big has happened. So it's all good. Just really happy to be here today. Other than that, no good news. Hope everybody has a good rest of their week.
No real good news, but happy to be here and hear that great presentation, Doug. Thank you, and look forward to hearing more.
So we have some really good news at the Savick House. Everyone knows that we've been doing some building renovations, and we have a roof, and our windows go in this week, and we've had framing inspections and our electrician inspection. So hopefully today our hydro goes off and gets reconnected, and our cable goes off and actually does get reconnected. So fingers crossed that everything gets reconnected and we have a house again.
Is that why Paul fell off? The power got shut down?
Just grateful to be here. Doug, awesome presentation. And I'm incredibly encouraged to discover that one's big why can be riding a motorcycle. That's awesome. Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing more pictures of your Egypt trip. And I apologize for not being at the polio walk, but I was in emergency. I had kidney stones. The good news, I passed it the next day.
Well, Lynn and I had an experience, not like going to Egypt. We went to Niagara on the Lake, spent a few days down there. Beautiful weather last week when we were there. And the B&B was just fantastic. It was a lot of older homes there, history. That's where the first parliament sitting took place, 1795, I think it was. But anyway, so we went to the B&B and we rang the bell, and it had the camera and the whatnot on there, and beside it was a side window to the door, and there was a little Rotary emblem there. So I said, I guess we picked the right one. So we come out and we came in and answered the door, and the owner, we started chatting about the Rotary Club, and their fundraisers are just amazing because there's a lot of money in that town, deep pockets, and they did a wine tasting, for example, a wine tasting and a martini night at an estate home down there, and they raised $12,000. Anyway, so we had a great time down there, and just really appreciate the time off.
Thanks, Barry. So our Rotary Club never ceases to amaze me. I've been a member now for 11 years. And during those 11 years, we've had many of our members go to different places in the world, go to Rotary Club meetings, go to Rotary Club meetings where they didn't speak English, but everybody knew who you were and where you were from. And it was the friendship and the fellowship was wonderful. And today, Doug has shown us how Rotary makes the world a much smaller place. It's to have our people visit us from Egypt on our Zoom. Doug, it was just great. It's a terrific presentation. But I think the big thing here is Rotary, and it's all over the world, and we can bring it right home here to the library on a Wednesday morning from Egypt, and that's just amazing. So, Doug, thanks so much for a great presentation.
You have some good news, Doug?
It was great doing the polio walk on the weekend. It was the weather was absolutely perfect. I know, Jeff, you sold a ton of tickets, so we're wrapping up a few things, and I think we'll probably get some really good media exposure out of it. I know there was lots of cars honking horns going down the road, and we just raised awareness, and that's really what it's about, because we really are this close. We are so close. So keep raising awareness, share that on Facebook and whatever you do, or Instagram, or whatever your thing is, so more and more people are aware of it around the world.
Thank you, Doug. My great news is that I'm here with you all. So other than that, let's finish off with a 50-50 draw. 9431. And if no one's got anything to add, did he just draw himself? So everyone have a great day, and we'll see you all soon.